guys, it's me, Carrie Silver Lining Minute, and I decided to squeeze in one last episode of Silver Linings before the end of the year because I had such an awesome, oh, my game is on, such an awesome epic journey in Europe that I wanted to share about. Well, I kind of wanted to brag a little bit, but you guys see me crying and whining all the time. You may as well see me have a little bit of joy because I really did. It was like the best trip ever. And I did go through some stuff. I had a big shift and I want to share about that. And that has to do with Michael and the story behind that. I had that big old bitch fest post for day 14. And well, I guess I'm jumping right into the shit right now. Normally, I will share stuff in Silver Linings because it's my group, it's my story, and I'll share it all the time in here. There's no filter in this place here. But I don't generally post my personal stuff that's like drama, my personal drama on my personal page, but um or even my drama in my group. I'll do my drama here, but sometimes I'll do my drama in my group if I feel like it comes with a lesson behind it. Like when I was talking all that shit about my mom, it was an experience that I had, and I found the silver linings, and I was trying to demonstrate that you don't have to you know interact with family members just because they're family members. So, I try to make a lesson out of it because I'm really not a shit talker. So when I blasted Michael, and by the way, I never used his name in that post, but who doesn't know who it is? You can, scroll to all the other posts where I'm pouring tons of love on him to figure out his name. But, oh, I forgot. Hang on. Oh, so since I'm like, I'm on day 13, I can't skip day 14, and I really was stuck on the train all day long. If you haven't read the post or followed my 17 days of epic journey, then I would just give like, a daily journal report on what happened that day. So I'll be talking about it here so you didn't miss anything, but I'll refer to it here. Um, so I have a little cold right now, and I just took cold medicine, and I was going to skip this, but I was like, I really want to get it done before the next year. I'm a little bit sentimental about dates, dates that are significant to me, not necessarily everybody else, but New Year's does to me like indicate new and rebirth, and that just comes bigger in the springtime. That's my big thing. I feel like I bloom right along with nature at that time. So right now I'm in my metamorphosis. I'm in my little chrysalis. I had a big shift while I was away. And again, I'm gonna, go back to not only am I going to brag about my trip and share my joy with you, but I'm going to talk about what I really, really learned. Not only, just stuff that had nothing to do with Michael, but what I did learn through him. And I'm just going to tell the whole story because I didn't tell the whole story in that post. I left bits and pieces out because it's too long. So let me share it here. And okay, again, I started to say that I don't usually share my personal like drama on the internet, but I couldn't skip it. I had 13 days worth and I still had a few more days to go. I had to put it in there. And so it felt relevant to me, not only because it was part of my story, but of my trip, but because it's part of the story that I've been sharing for years. So that's kind of how I justify blasting him like that. And I have zero regrets for that because I also feel like it was necessary for me. It just felt like, when your anger, you can use anger to benefit you. It basically says, I'm done with this. I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I'm done. So you let yourself have your anger, you process it, but you don't hold on to it. You move on. But let it work for you first. And I did. I got pissed off at him because he didn't contact me or respond back to me in such a long time. Let me go back to the beginning of the story. Okay, well, it all started probably in the summertime. And I think I mentioned I want to get, oh God, I'm going to make this so long. Sorry. I wanted to get eye drops that will eliminate the need for readers because I'm just so tired of changing from glasses readers to distance to my close lenses to my far lenses to no lenses. I have like 5 combinations of ways in which I can see. And so this, I investigated all over the internet for the doctor's office that would supply, made a prescription for these drops. So I went to this specific office with this specific doctor, but the universe arranged for me to have a different doctor who was completely 100% against these drops. So she said that it can ruin your eyes. Just one time can ruin your eyes. And I don't want my eyeballs ruined. So she recommended this surgery called RLE, and I think it's called refractive lens exchange. So one of my friends has gone to South America or Central America recently to have a bunch of dental work done because it's a bargain. I know I've already said this in the last one, so I'm going to try to like speed this up. So anyway, medical tourism. And so I Googled the best place to get your eyes done. It was Prague. So I decided to go to Prague. And as long as I was going to go to Prague, which was next to Germany, I was going to see my friend Sahar in Germany. And as long as I was going to be in Prague in Europe, I was going to go and see my friends Jane and Tracy and whoever else I could manage to see. I do have a bigger list of people, but I was my trip was already pretty full as it was. So I tried to make it happen and it didn't. But after UK, I was going to make space for Michael. Or I did make space. I booked a hotel that was near where I believe he lived, close enough. Belgium's not a very big country. It's about the same size as the city of Houston. So even if I was like far, far away on the other side of the entire country, I still would not be that far away from him. But I booked in the Netherlands border because, well, to be honest, because I thought I could maybe get high over there. That didn't work out, but whatever. I also just didn't want to be in Belgium. I wanted to skip that one. I've been there before, and I would like to go again because I've only seen this much of it. But I don't know. It felt like I don't know, a place I ought not land. So So once I decided to go on this big epic journey, I started making my plans, but I didn't have concrete plans yet. So I messaged Michael back in mid-October and I said, I'm gonna come to Europe sometime in the beginning of December. I'd love to connect, meet your baby, etc. Um, well, he didn't open that message and he didn't open it and he didn't open it and he didn't open it. For 4 weeks, 4 weeks had gone by, and I got so pissed off at his lack of respect for at least opening the message. He didn't even look at it. He didn't even know what I was suggesting or asking unless he was sneaky like I know how to be, and I'll get to that later. But as far as I could tell, he did not read that message. He certainly didn't respond to it. How's he going to respond if he didn't read it? So after like the fourth week went by, I was like, fuck this. I'm not taking that shit night because Facebook now you can unsend your messages. So I unsent it. That was my big statement. So I go, and oh, this was such a sweet moment. I have like one of my husband and I, Robert, one of our most tender moments is when our son Ryan was born. That was our second boy, our middle child, because he's like 2 minutes older than his sister. But when little Ryan popped out, he just wailed this little itty bitty baby squeak, and my husband and I locked gazes and both got teary eyed, and we both say that that was one of our most special moments together. Well, we had another one of those when I was leaving for my trip. It was just there wasn't a lot said. It was just the kind of exchanges a couple would make, be safe, I love you, I miss you, that kind of stuff. But there was just such emotion and tenderness behind it, mostly on his part, but I felt it, so I was able to give it right back. And that was very, very sweet. So I started my trip off with feeling so supported in my journey, and that made a big difference because, um, well, he knew that I had wanted to go and see Michael, and he didn't know if I was going to or not because he knew like the story that he hadn't answered me. And so I have to give my husband, really big kudos for not giving me shit about any of that. And we've come to a place in our relationship where external relationships, they're not going to matter no matter what context they are. We are who we are. So I can go for a week away with Sarah and I do my Sarah stuff, play coffee pong and eat cheese, whatever it is we do. I go to my dad's and we could go, get high and go hiking and, that's separate. And whatever it is I do with other people outside of my relationship, even having a romance with another man, I haven't done that yet, by the way, but we'll see. I always come back home. All of those other relationships, friendships, activities are separate from this. This is my home base. So he understands that. So it was very nice to not have like jealousies that just wouldn't fly. It just, we don't have that kind of relationship. So you really can't get on me for wanting to have one elsewhere. And I don't know. That would have created so many more problems, as you can imagine. I'm sure it's a big issue for people that do have those kinds of insecurities. I mean, I totally get it, but I'm a mold breaker. And as traditional as he is, he signed up with a mold breaker, therefore he is a mold breaker too. So more kudos and power and gratitude for him. So I get myself to the airport and I want first class. I want first class. I did not get first class. I didn't get full blown coach, but I got the one in the middle, which did give you more space. But I was trapped between men and it was an evening flight. And men just automatically feel more entitled to have more elbow room. So even though I had the bigger seat, I was squished between two big men or normal sized men. I just happened to be, well, I'm little this way, but I'm bigger that way. So I kind of need more room too. But I got trapped in there and they're sleeping because it's a night flight and my restless legs went fucking crazy. So for 10 hours, I just stared at the screen trying to focus on movies and rub my legs. It was horrible. Okay, anyway, enough of that. I landed in Germany, tired from being out all night, up all night, and I got on a wrong train. It was so confusing. I was so tired. It was so cold. The information booth had no people in it. I asked some people. It was fucked up. I was just like, ugh, and I prayed to the universe, please help me, please help me. And I I did get on a train that had one of the words that I was supposed to be on, and I'm laughing at myself in hindsight because here in Texas, I live in Spring, but there's another city called Spring Branch and another one called Spring Cypress. They're nowhere near Spring. But in my brain, well, it has the one word, so let me just get on that train and go. I got into the wrong place, but there was a young man. It's so funny I say that, a young man, um, instead of just a man or a guy. That's funny because he was probably in his mid 20s, maybe he was even in his 30s. I don't know. He's a young man, and he just saw me looking so confused so early in the morning. So he just stopped what he was doing. He looked at my piece of paper that I was staring at, and he offered to take my suitcase down the stairs to the platform, but I refused because he was already being too kind, and I wasn't going to let him lug this heavy thing around. But he did take me down there. He pointed to the side and he showed me on my paper and all the things I needed to do. And I just was crying because I was like, thank you for, bringing me this helper. Got me back on the train, got me back on literally on track. So I had a little bit of fun on that ride too, because once I was getting to where I was going, I went out and I took a few pictures of this little mini Christmas market, which is the thing in Europe, Christmas markets. And the train ride was beautiful. Castles everywhere. I just couldn't believe it. I was like in awe, even though I was exhausted and cold and still a little confused. I got to my destination. My friend Sahar, she picked me up from the train station and they had dinner ready for me. And they live in this, it's an apartment. They kind of move around a lot because I think it's for her school. She's been going to school as long as I've known her. And now she's like at the very end of it. I think she wants to be a professor. So she's teaching at the school that she's also schooling at, I think. So she's had kind of, a fun school career because it's allowed her or forced her, whichever way you want to look at it, to move around a little bit. So she's got to see some parts of the world. She's from here. Actually, she has family or had family that lived not too far from me. And we're also both familiar with Las Vegas and parts of California. But she's now living in Germany with her husband Timo and their little boy Kai. And Kai is he's a little guy. Is I think he's 5. He's a little smarty pants, and they got no TV, so there's lots of puzzles and games. So I got to fill my time doing puzzles and playing games. And he was fun to play with. He was a funny guy. He had me cracking up all the time. But it sure did make me appreciate that my kids were older. I don't really miss those days. It was really nice. I had just enough of it, and it'll be like a pre something. of what it will be like when, I got grandkids and I could give them right back when I'm done. But he was funny. He was my little buddy. We held hands a lot and he was so snuggly and kissy and oh, I miss him already. I missed him almost immediately. He's so sweet. And Sahar and Timo, they showed me such a good time. They cooked me dinner that first night, and the next morning we went out to brunch at a nice restaurant. And that evening we went out to another restaurant. And as all these places that we're going to, walking through the little town, and I'm just like this, my guy, I can't get enough. And it was cold, but I was layered up in sweatshirts as a Houstonian, as a Texan, even though we do get really, really cold here. It's just a short amount of time, and I just can't justify having a coat. I used to have one, I keep giving them away. I don't need a coat. So I did just fine with my mittens and my hat and my, double, triple sweatshirts out there, except for the last bit. So after spending, oh, and then the next day, and then what did we do during the day? I think we just hung out. I can't even remember if we went somewhere during the day. Isn't that funny? We just visited and talked a lot because I've known Sahar for a long time, 7 years maybe. I don't know how many, but because I've always seen her at events, I never got to have like a lot of one-on-one with her. And she's been such a good friend to me. We don't communicate very often, maybe once every couple of years because there's so much to say. Um, and we're so busy in our own lives. But she was one of my biggest allies and one of my greatest challenges. And I will forever, forever have gratitude for the help that she provided me. Thank you, Sahar. So this was like a time for me to really get to know her and her story. And boy, she's one tough cookie. She's been through some stuff, and I'm inspired by her what do you call that? Tenacity. You go, girl. And so the next day, we went out to brunch again, just she and I, and that was really nice. More talking, more catching up, more sharing stories. And she drove me over to Luxembourg, so I got to be in Luxembourg for just, like 1 minute. That was kind of cool. Got the stamp in my book. But really, that was no big deal. I just went from there to Prague. And when I got picked up in Prague, it was so nice. I don't speak the language. It's cold, it's dark, and I already got lost in Germany. So when I come out, there's a man holding my name on a sign, another young man. And so he grabbed my bag and, popped me into his car. And he was a little cutie. I don't know, we'll leave it to me. The conversation went straight to drugs. I didn't even ask. He just volunteered us. So we were talking about all of our favorites. And, and he was telling me about how Prague was like a very big place to film movies. I guess because it's inexpensive and it's so old world. And he's just giving me a little history on Prague, where I should go, etc. So am I making this way too long? Fuck, I am. I'm only on Prague and it's 17 minutes. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm going to try to make this a little bit faster. Okay, so now drops me off my eyeballs. I'm at this hotel, and the next day I get picked up by a woman. We're just walking, and there's two other men with us, and we walk to the clinic. They have this thing down pat. So me and these two other men are going along, and we do all of our pre stuff, and then I have to come every day for the next several days because one day is the pre, the next day is the first surgery, the next day is the checkup, and the next day is the next surgery, and the next day is the last checkup. So I already wrote in my stories like what that was about, but just for those that didn't read the stories, if you're curious about what happens in an eyeball surgery, it was so fucking scary. I mean, they did like drops for a long time, no big deal. We're laughing and yucking it up with the other people and their scrubs and their hair nets and whatever, their slippers. But the fear of the unknown is a big fear. So I was really scared to go and get my eye done, my first eye. So I did it, and it was scary. The first thing they do is they just strap you down. Well, you didn't strap me down. You didn't need to because you were like frozen in fear. But they put you in a chair and they shine this thing in your eye, and you're supposed to look at the red lights, but there's super bright white lights too. You're completely blinded. And you hear zzz, 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 and you feel pressure. You can feel your eyes being lasered cut or whatever it is they're doing. It doesn't hurt, but it's pressure, and it's happening, and it's scary. And with all these bright lights out, it probably feels like maybe what it would be if you were on abducted by the bad aliens and they're experimenting and blasting shit. Ooh, scary. So then they roll you over to another room and your eyes are super blurry. You're actually all covered up your whole face except for they cut a hole out in the cloth. So you knew, and I don't know if it was scissors or tweezers or what, but through my blurry vision, I could see like instruments and I could feel pressure and things moving around. And this is what I'm picturing it that are taking. I have to close my eyes because I don't want to lifting up my lens, my eyeball skin, and shoving a lens in and put my eye back down. I don't know if that's what they do or not, but okay. So then that was it, and I was cool. I had to wear my pirate patch, and I didn't care. I went to the mall. I got myself some food, and then I came home and I went to sleep. That Valium was pretty it didn't calm me down too much, but it did knock me out later, and I slept the afternoon. So the next surgery I had a couple days later, I no longer had the fear of the unknown, but this time I had the fear of the known, and it was a lot scarier. And the first surgery, I was like, I'm scared, I'm scared. Is it almost done? Is everything okay? I'm scared. And they'd say, it's fine, it's fine. And they gave me a stuffed dog to hold. And then the second one, I was really panicked. I mean, I was like panicked. And I have felt like that before, just before I was giving birth to my twins, where I was so terrified I was ready to run out of the fucking operating room. I mean, but the nurses like had me. And it was like all I could do to just stay focused, to stay a little longer, stay a little longer, stay a little longer. And I compared it to like a pap smear, which is so uncomfortable. You hate it, but the more you move and the more you tense up, the longer it takes and the more it hurts. So, but I've never had the panic of death in a pap smear like I did with this. And it just, it kept going and going. And I know it was probably only 5 minutes, but it felt like 2 hours because I was so terrified. Anyway, I finished up with that one and I was pale, but they shooed me right out of the room anyway and had the nurses take care of me because, there's a line and they whip people right. They probably do 10 to 20 a day. I don't know. It's like not a big deal to them. And this place, Prague, maybe all of Europe, but especially Prague, because I didn't go to all of Europe, but they love their coffee. And I don't think that the coffee is like any, fancy brand necessarily, but they got these custom machines everywhere. They're great. So I was so grown up and fancy and drinking my espresso. Is it espresso or espresso? Espresso, no X. And the cappuccinos, and I was being so fancy, and not all of them had my sweetener. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm going balls deep. I'm having sugar. I'm having carbs. Because I kind of feel like, too, that a trip to another country, food is part of their culture. Food is part of the experience. So I was like, I'm going to deal with those consequences later. I don't care. I don't want to deny myself. And I wasn't a glutton or anything, but I wasn't going to diet. Fuck that. If it takes me 2 more weeks when I get home, then it takes me 2 more weeks. So after my second surgery, I just went into the doctor's the waiting room and had myself some fancy coffees. Then I went back to the mall again and I had myself some dinner. And while I was in the mall, I just sat down. I just sat down to eat my dinner and I picked up my phone real quick to look at it. And guess what I saw? I saw a motherfucking message from Michael. 5 weeks later, after my original message back in mid-October, a week after I unsent my message because I'm so pissed off. Here I am sitting down at the food court about to eat my dinner, and there's the motherfucking message from him. And I didn't know what to do with it. I put the phone right back down, and I just stared off. I just stared around. And I looked down at the floor, and there's a huge, big-ass white feather. And I'm like, I'm not like a big believer in signs like that, but the timing of it mixed with the fact that it was a giant feather in the mall upstairs in the food court was weird. And then I look up from that feather and coming up the escalators, lots of people, but this one girl who has a sweatshirt in English that says good things are coming. So I was like, oh my gosh, is this a sign? Is this a double sign right after I see this message? Sorry, I'm getting sicker. My meds are wearing off, maybe. Okay, so, he made me wait 5 weeks. So I did my best to make him wait. I didn't have the luxury of making him wait a long time. I was already here in Europe. And as pissed off as I was at his lack of consideration for me. It was just rude. It's rude to blow somebody off that long. Because theoretically, I could have changed my plans. I could have canceled my reservations. And not that he's like obligated to know this, but when you wait that long, it's like, why even bother? Why even bother? And I could have said the same thing to myself about answering him. Why even bother after he pulled that shit on me, right? But I was in the mindset that, well, I'm a nice person and I will give people the benefit of the doubt. I've said this over and over again. It's one of the reasons my husband and I fight so much, is because he just jumps to the first conclusion that comes to his mind, and it's usually a shitty one. He doesn't take time to well, he's actually gotten better. This is in the past. He's still a work in progress, but aren't we all? But it's his way to just go with his first thought. Well, not me, maybe there is some extenuating circumstance. I don't know. And besides that, here I am in Europe and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be so close to him, and I don't get to Europe very often. So I sucked it up. And after a couple hours, I wrote him back and I told him that, I'm not going to be in Belgium. Okay, because his message said to me, when are you going to be here in December? He goes, I've been meaning to message you for a while now, but every time I thought about it, it was at a very inconvenient time. And that really rubbed me the wrong way. It sounded like an excuse. I don't want to be inconvenient to anyone, but whatever. Like I said, I don't get to Europe very often. I especially don't get to 20 miles away from him very often. And again, I don't know the circumstances, so I'm going to give him, give this situation another chance. Oh, I got to back up. I got to back up. As long as I'm on Michael right now. I'm sorry I'm all over the place. I always say that. Let me back up. I got to go way back, because I told you I sent that message in mid-October and he didn't message me. He didn't message me. So what happened was, one of my friends messaged me and said, I went and spied on Michael's wall. I guess he's having another baby. And the way this person said this to me was kind of in like, I don't know if it was like a jokey way or like, haha, or can you I don't know what it was, but it felt like it was just insensitive, like just a bomb being thrown at me. Like it wasn't, like they didn't expect me to be so hurt by this information that I'd go, oh, no way, or something like that. Like I would treat it as just some interesting gossip, although it's not really gossip, if you know what I mean, though, like an interesting story for me about an ex. But rather than it, being something for me to giggle about or roll my eyes about, it this information felt very reminiscent of the time that I learned that he got a girlfriend, because it was a mutual friend of ours and they just dropped it on me like an insensitive bomb. Then the same thing happened with me with Fairy Boy, when a mutual friend told me, I was supposed to go traveling with him. And the mutual friend dropped the truth bomb on me and said, nope, he's going traveling with somebody else. Or not nope, but oh, by the way, did you hear that Fairy Boy is blah, blah, blah? And each time that this information has been given to me, and now this current one, he's having another baby, it was just devastating, like knives in my heart, daggers in my heart. And I'm so sorry that this is out of order, but see, I had already started to pack for my trip for Europe. And since he hadn't messaged me back yet, I did not know in what context our reconnection would be. I know how twin flames are supposed to work, so I know it's possible that there's a union and a romance, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. I had integrated Mariana. I had that message from so long ago that said I would connect with him when I was, union with him when I was 51 and a half, which I am. And I'd even come to accept my body. I don't love it, but I'm not ashamed of it. I'm still working on it. But the fact that I was willing to go and have a romance with him, despite me not being in a place physically that I want to be at, also let me believe that I had attained my growth or that I was ready, etc. But I also knew that he had a baby. So I was like, I don't know where he stands. I don't know. So when I found out that he was expecting another baby in this bombshell, my heart sank. And I was like, okay, now I know that romance is off the table. That's not happening. So I had to mourn that and I had to grieve that. And that kind of made sense as to why he chose to not message me or even read my email. Maybe it just seemed too big for him. And I still think it's bullshit because there's no excuse. There may be reasons for him to be reluctant, but we've always been like friendly with each other, and it just felt very disrespectful and very unfriendly because he could have been a grown up and he could have said, I'm uncomfortable with that. My family's growing, my girl's expecting, and I don't want to rock any boats at home. She might find it hurtful and I care about her, but good luck to you and your trip. And that would have disappointed me, but I had already been okay with that. I made peace with any context, including not seeing him. So what I did was unpack like the romantic treasures I had for either our potential evening together or just presents I had for him to take home, things like that. I took all that out and I actually inside my bag I also had presents for, his I guess maybe is he a toddler? He's like 2. Is that a toddler? I should know better. I worked at a preschool for years. Anyway, I had a book and a stuffed animal, a couple books to chew on. But I have like a stash of baby clothes in my closet for, well, there's a reason for that too. But anyway, brand new baby clothes with the tag still on it. So I went and dug and I found something that the new baby could have. I'm like, you know what, that's fine. I don't need a romance with him, but I really miss my friend. So I also believed that attitude meant that I had, let go of all expectations. Now, that's an important word, expectations, because that's what this is all about with him. Because I never, ever in a million years expected him to blow me off. In other words, I had an expectation that he would at least treat me with the minimum respect it requires to have, well, a respectful relationship or interaction or whatever. He gave me nothing. And that to me is just so, it pissed me off because, he is, I guess he's nice. I don't know. He's always preaching about be kind. And he even wrote this one post a long time ago, who wants some kindness? And, people are raising their hand or whatever it was. I don't remember. But he is about kindness. And I felt like that was like the opposite of kind. I felt like it was cruel. It was just so unnecessary to treat me this way. So while I did not have necessarily an expectation of seeing him or not seeing him, or if I did see him, in which context it would be, if he invited me over to go and have, dinner with his family, I would have done that. I would have made nice. I would have, I want him to be happy and live his life. I'm not out to be a homewrecker. Although, if you followed along on those threads, I did my posts. Some girl was like so convinced that that's all I was out for, was just to just go not give two shits about him and his family. That pissed me off. And I'm like, girl, you got your own issues because you are not seeing the whole picture. You haven't been following along. I have no interest in destroying his family. But again, I know how the twin flame dynamic is supposed to work. And I also know that not everybody has the same circumstances in life. For example, me and my husband, if I can find not a loophole, but you know what I mean. If we've found a way and we've made it work, then perhaps he did too. So, don't be so fucking judgy out there if you don't know the whole story, right? And by the way, a couple people came to my defense. Thank you for that. And a couple other people went inside my inbox and said, want me to go say something? I'm like, nah, it's okay. She's got her own issues. But I did defend myself, as I should. It's my post. If you don't like it, then fuck off. Throw your 2 cents in if you're going to shit on me without understanding the whole thing, right? That's a boundary. Okay, so there it was. So that was the expectation, was that he would contact me, and he didn't. So I'm back. Let's go back to Prague. And I sent him that message saying, I'm available here in this time, and I'm staying here. This is the place. I wanted to be somewhere close to you because I know, how challenging and he doesn't know yet that I know about the other baby. I mean, it's not that it was a secret. There just wasn't a lot of communication going on yet. So we just kept it real minimal. I said, if it's easier for me to come to you, I will, which really it wasn't that much easier for me because he could drive and have a straight shot and be to me in a half an hour. I would have to take a train to here to here. It would have taken me probably 2 hours, but I would have done it because I always make it easy on him. Um, so he didn't message me back after that, and I'm left hanging again. So I finished my stuff in Prague. I had new eyeballs. They were really, I could see. It was a miracle. You can see far away instantly. But just, just like the doctors and the internet says, you're going to have halos, or not. Everybody's experience is different, but I have halos around lights. And what's so interesting is that you can have a circle light, but the halo around it is square. And then there'll be like another one, because you know how they're like not just a glow. I'm calling it a halo, and it's true. Some of them do just glow, but some of them have like an outline of the same colored light, then another outline. It doesn't matter what shape the light is, the glow around it is a square. I'm like this, looking at squares all the time. I'd look at some lady's rhinestones on her sweater, and they're all sparkling with squares, and I realized that Christmas lights were just too much because everything blew up like triple times its size. And so night driving is kind of a challenge for me because the lights are so big, they're bright, number one, and number two, they will like blend over words that I might want to see. In my own hood, I know where everything's at, so it doesn't matter. But if I was trying to read street signs and directions, I would definitely need my phone to do it because I can't. The glow, it's so weird. My phone, be quiet. Okay, so uh, I go over to UK, and my friend Jane picks me up, and it went fairly smoothly. It was so nice to have yet another person pick me up rather than me trying to train over to their house. And um, Jane, I met her the same time I met Sahar, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if one came a year before them, but anyway, same circumstance where I've got to talk to her. I'd even been to Jane's house before, but it was, the visit was very short-lived because we were on our way to something else. So I knew her. I'd seen her a couple of times. I've had conversations with her, through chat, but I didn't get to spend that much time with her. And I'll get back to Michael. That story's not done yet, but I'm kind of doing this in the order of my trip, and then including the stuff I forget from before and just throwing it in. These stories are so crazy that chronology can't matter. You can just get the vibe at the end of it. So let me see. So I go to Jane's. We get there at night, and she gets me to her house, and her husband has prepared this amazing salmon, potato, and what was the salad, candlelit dinner, champagne, the works. It was so delicious. And her house, oh, I told you I've been to her house before, but she has since remodeled. This house is Mac Daddy, and it's an old, London house. So it's the opposite of the open floor plan that I'm used to here in Texas. So the kitchen is over here in one room. You go down some stairs to the kitchen, then you go up some stairs into the living room, then up more stairs to my room, and then more stairs to her room. And I never even made it up to her kids' room. And she told me it was really cool that they built a loft for him. Oh yeah, and then there's more stairs down, and that's the basement. It's called the basement, but it's the movie room and the utility room where they do the laundry. And then the sweet, charming backyard, and then beyond that, she has her own little, what we can nickname a she shed, but it's her healing room, and it's got, she could rent that out. It's got a full bathroom and like a little mini kitchenette, I guess. I don't know what kind of cooking things there were in there, but you could probably slap a microwave in. I didn't give that enough look, but everything was beautiful, and just with beautiful marble, and the colors that are so in right now, gray, black, and white, and just seeing this older house revamped with, well, modern, but also like classic too. I have to stop right now because I don't know enough about interior design. I'll sound like a fool. But anyway, it was beautiful. And she fucking spoiled me rotten. She treated to everything, and she took me to fancy places. I really felt, how I'm always going on and on about how I want to be the real housewife and have their experiences, and my Joy Tribe provides that for me. Well, this was me on my Real Housewives UK edition. Jane, she just, I don't want to get teary, but She just made me feel like royalty, I guess. But at the same time, being so fancy and going to fancy restaurants, and she had like a cappuccino bar, and like her refrigerator was behind cupboard doors, you couldn't even tell it was a refrigerator, and the champagne was flowing. Despite all of this luxury and high end, just well, not romancing me, but romancing me in a way, it was still a very down to earth and friendly visit. Lots of camaraderie and friend and feeling, equal. And I kept talking about her and her big words and how fancy she was, and she kind of chastised me for saying that, having these kinds of dialogues and things you're saying, it becomes self-fulfilling. You attract that kind of energy. And she is right. You can't be self-deprecating, because what you put out there comes back to you. But the reality is that I don't really have like low self-esteem when it comes to that. She really does have fancy words. She's really smart. She knows her shit when it comes to energy. And I'm all over the place. I'm a tumbleweed rolling through life. And but I am not knocking my style. I love who I am. I'm just not, worldly with big fancy words. I have my own version. And but speaking of her fancy words and her healing and everything, she invited me to come sit on one of her classes. And and she also gave me a session, and she kind of taught me how. I mean, I'm not gonna, I just really, like I said, I'm a tumbleweed rolling through life, so I cannot like adhere to anybody else's style in particular. But I can take what I learn and make it my own. And oh fuck, I did I even go back and tell you this? I didn't even tell you this part. I got to pause you again and go back. I found out that, Michael was having the baby, and then Heather messaged me soon after that. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to start this over because I'm tired and I got to get this out. Heather messaged me and said, "Hey, I want to start doing readings again. I need some money. Can I practice on you?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, you can." And what's so funny is that in retrospect, I feel like maybe that was what she was like downloaded to believe, but she still hasn't done any of those readings. So I feel like Eric had something really important to tell me. So he's like, "Hey, Heather," knocking on her brain saying, "Go offer Carrie this freebie," which I did stuff money in her PayPal account. But I was asking about my kids to Eric in this reading, and he's like, "Okay, enough with the kids. Let's talk about Michael." So he brought it up, and he's like, "Don't expect Michael to message you and or connect with you or whatever, or see you," or I can't remember what word he said. And I was like devastated. I was brokenhearted. I was pissed. I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck is it now? Because I got, I already gave all the reasons as to why I thought this might be it. This might be the time. I might be healed. This might be it. I booked the fancy hotel, 51 and a half, all this stuff. And when I've learned it wasn't, first of all, I kind of came to terms with myself with the baby and not having the romance, but I was still willing to go and, wanted to, not willing to, wanted to spend time with him, even if it was just to meet his family again, or his baby, I admitted. So in hindsight, I'm really grateful that Eric did that for me, because it gave me time to like power process. And that's when I was like, in that post, it was so mean and ugly of me, but it was effective. Um, that I imagined Michael to be dead, because dead people don't answer you. You don't have an expectation of people lying in a coffin messaging you back on Facebook. And so in my imaginings, I wanted to keep the anger stoked. I just wanted to stay mad, because he and I are programmed to not stay mad at each other. So I was like clinging to this anger for dear life. Well, not really. I really wasn't clinging to it at that point, but I was just feeding it and feeding it, because I felt like it was good for me. Because like I said, anger can serve you if you use it to propel yourself forward. So in my imaginings, his coffin was open and he's lying down with his last clothes, like the first profile picture I've ever seen of him. And I'm throwing dirt on him, and then the coffin closes and I throw more dirt on him, and then it gets buried, and I'm like just like hovering above with my handful of dirt, and time elapses, thousands, uh, millions, bazillions of years go by, and he just um decomposes. Everything decomposes and becomes petrified sediment, and still I'm throwing earth on him. I'm gonna make sure he stay dead. I don't want anything to do with him. I'm done. I'm done with the whole thing. I'm done with him because for more or less, all of the other things he did to me was really just him living his life. And because I loved him so much, it ended up hurting me to see him meet somebody, fall in love, move in together, all of the things of a relationship evolution. But this thing, when he didn't, write me back and left me hanging for so long, that wasn't him just living his life. That was a choice he made. He chose to not communicate with me. And while there's obvious reasons as to why he wouldn't want to see me, I can't think of one reason why it would be okay for somebody or acceptable for them to not at least reach back out to you and say, I'm not doing it. It makes me feel like he was a big pussy and he didn't know what to do, or perhaps he had this plan that I don't want to look like a dick, so I'll message her back at the very last minute when there won't be any time to hang out with me. Either way, they were both two dicky moves, whichever one he went with. And having said that, though, I can't help but always see things from the bigger perspective. So I know that I needed this, and this is where my biggest lesson came from. I didn't even figure this out until I came home. I'm going to jump up again and finish this part of it and then go back to the rest of my trip to England. So, well, I don't know which way should I go. Michael, trip. Michael, trip. Let's go trip. Okay. So put all that to the side right now. I've already processed and I did spend time, crying and getting mad here and there, but I did not let it ruin my trip. And that's what I'm grateful to Eric for, was giving me these couple weeks to process it so that it would not be a dark cloud on my trip, because this was to be a monumental epic journey. And Eric said in that same reading that my friends would be my saving grace. Well, they went above and beyond being my saving grace, because it was just, as I said, a phenomenal trip and it wasn't over yet. So Jane, besides just whining and dining me and just giving me the best time of my life, my room was awesome. I had my own bathroom to myself. Everything was just luxury, fucking luxury. I'm going to go back there. I'm just going to move in. I'm just going to move in. By the way, I found her little present that I forgot to bring her. And then I was going to show it, but I forgot it again and left it in my room. Damn it. Oh, well. Now I'll have to go back and give her her little treat. By the way, one of the things that happened was she had a session, so she quickly ordered some sushi and got all the fancy stuff. I just get the cucumber rolls from the grocery store. Well, she got it from a real Japanese restaurant, and it wasn't just the cucumber rolls or California rolls, whatever it is. She got us fancy stuff, and her husband had to work late, and she had to go to her session. So for a good chunk of the meal, it was just me and her son George. And he is so sweet. I think he was on the cusp of turning 13, so he was right there. Such good manners, and he was a little under the weather. He's a teenager, so he did teenagery stuff, hung out with his friends, and watched the game, whatever it was. But he's spent, some time having that sushi meal with me and explaining what the various things were, because I didn't know. And then when the meal was done, we were getting kind of full. He said, okay, well, I was still eating. He goes, I'm going to go, but I'll come back later and clean up when you're finished. And I was going, oh, hell no, you won't. You go and you go do teenagery stuff. Everybody's been taking care of me. I know how to put some food away. So I cleaned up the dinner, but I was just so impressed by that, because my kids, all kids are different. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. I'm not knocking my kids, but I just cannot see them sitting at a table with one of my guests and then offering to come back and clean up after them. They don't even clean up after them damn selves. Just kidding. They're okay. So anyway, George, I loved meeting George too. And then not only did I get to meet George, but I got to meet Polly. I've become such an animal lover. I enjoyed Jane's husband too. Just everybody. And he's not in the woo-woo stuff, but he hung tough with some of our conversations. Okay, so then the dogs. Since I've become a dog person, meeting these other, creatures feels like another person to me, another child. And I really enjoyed meeting the animals. My allergies did not appreciate it so much, and they made my hands itchy. But other than that, and Polly, she's a little brat. She's a sassy little brat that loves her mommy the most, and I understand because Soma is the same way. But I said, I'll take her out for a walk while Jane did her work. Well, Polly sort of walked. She walked halfway, but she refused to walk the other half, so I had to carry that mutt home. But she's so damn cute, I didn't mind. But boy, what a stubborn little brat she was. Then I came home and napped on Jane's couch, and she loved that I felt comfortable enough to just kick back on her living room couch and pass out. And I loved it too. It was such a welcoming home that I'm like, I'm sleeping. And life went on as usual, but I can sleep deep in naps. Okay, carrying on. After my time with Jane, um, she dropped me off at the train station, and I navigated my way over to my friend Tracy's house. And Europe's not like America. We don't do a lot of trains here. We have our big gas guzzlers. So Jane and her husband only shared one car because there's train stations and buses everywhere. I got to ride the double decker bus. And then the same thing with my friend Tracy. She just takes the train to work, I guess. And so I had to get a taxi from the train station to her house. But I did it. I figured it out and it was okay. But that kind of stuff's intimidating. When you've never done it before. Then I have to back up because this is a little bit funny. When I was in Prague, the hotel guy told me, the concierge said, yeah, you can get the train ticket. The kiosk is there, and it costs about, like 50 cents to a dollar or euro, whatever, however he said it. He, let me know it's real cheap. And I was like, no problem. So I'm swiping my card. You can just use your credit card now for the trains. Very convenient. So when I'm in UK, I'm doing the same thing, thinking that each little destination is going to be like 50 cents or a dollar. No, all those train rides are like $8, $6, $12, $23. That shit adds up, and I didn't know. And I started to get really panicked about money. But the universe loves me so much that the universe more or less paid for it. I recouped all of the money I spent on the surgery and then some. I have to look at my finances again because I can't count. Math is too hard. I just have this mantra and this attitude about money that there's always more than enough. But after swiping all those train things, everything was just so much more money than I had anticipated. I spent maybe twice what I thought I would. I even upgraded my eyeball surgery because at the last minute they said, hey, for an extra $1,300, we can get you the Mac Daddy one. You can heal quicker and it's 10 times more exact. I'm like, these are my eyeballs. 10 times? Are you serious? Sign me up. Okay, so then I get to Tracy's house and she's like sweeping her little walkway. She doesn't see me come, so I snuck up on her and I threw my arms around her. And I'd never met her before. Unlike Jane and Sahara, I'd never met her before. Oh wait, let me go back. So Jane and I were talking. She's telling me about doing an event, and I kind of like invited myself not to be a guest, but to help participate in hosting it, maybe. So something might be in the works there. Let's see, universe. I gotta talk to her because the more I think about it, and as well as we got along, I would love to work with her. I think we do okay. Just telling each other about our past experiences with former partners kind of let us know, or at least with me, let me know how she operates and what she does not get along with or whatever. Okay, back to Tracy's. So Tracy, we were just all hugging and loving, and after being so spoiled, she kind of joked that she's not going to be able to compete with Jane, and I didn't expect her to. I don't think anybody could, but she made my time with her equally special. It wasn't here or here, it was here because she gave me something that I just really needed, which was okay, because as soon as I got to her house, I was talking to her. We were sitting down and having coffee, and I was meeting her sweet animals. Roxy, this dog, has a perpetual look of so sweet. Like, can I? Will you? And then she's got two cats. One's a real sweet. Well, they're both sweet, but one of them pretends to be a brat, so we go with that. So she has this little fur family, and they were very affectionate, and my hands blew up. But we took Roxy for a walk, another one of my walks. Um, So we're kind of talking, and I'm telling her the story because when I told her the story a while ago, several weeks ago, I still didn't know it was going to happen. So I told her she might have to be my girl that helps me get ready for my big date. Well, instead, she was my girl that was going to help me nurse my broken heart. So I was just sitting there at that table. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it again. I'm going to unsend my message again because fuck this. I only had 2 days at her house. Then I was going to go to that hotel and wait for him. He still hadn't messaged me and it's going to be 2 more days. So I unsent my message in an act of, you know, fuck you. It really wasn't much of a fuck you, but I mean, I didn't really know what else to do. Anyway, I did that and we drowned our sorrows. We drowned my sorrows together in some nachos, and that was really nice. And she lives by herself with these or three animals, so she just has this one like love seat. And they're small. They're like maybe people were smaller 100 years ago. I don't know because rooms were smaller. Um, like even Jane's house rooms were it's not like here in Texas where everything's just so spread out. So we're cuddled on this little love seat couch, and we were cuddled because we're both not little. So we were just two squishy fishies cuddling on this couch together, watching movies and eating snacks. And it was the exact girly time I needed because I mean, isn't that just it when you like visualize a sleepover, movies and popcorn or movies and candy or whatever it is, that's part of it. So we did because it's too cold to go anywhere else. So we didn't have and I didn't really care. It was just a regular town. It had a museum on shoes. And I don't care about museums and don't really care about shoes, so that would have been a waste. And I had seen so much already. I was just ready to be cozy with my friend. And so that was nice. And we pretty much did the same thing the next day. We took the dog for a walk. And then I wanted to go to a grocery store and buy candy. I was like, I really want to eat candies. And I hadn't really had any candy. So we went and I bought way too much candy. And I was like, whatever I don't eat, I'll give to my kids. We still have some of that candy here. Ooh, and I got some in Germany. The Germany candy went quick. This UK candy I didn't do as well. So another day of just snuggling and watching movies and playing with animals and talking and just, all that stuff. Then we did it again. It was just fine just to do nothing. It was really, really nice. So I had to wake up at the ass crack of dawn the next day. I had to wake up at 4 to catch a taxi by 4:30 to get to the train that left at 5 that went to, London by 6 so I could be there 2 hours early for my international train that went to Amsterdam, or sorry, the Netherlands. So I finally make all these trains. I navigate all this. I say my goodbyes, and that was the one time I wiped out, but I didn't even wipe out all the way because my boot got stuck in her planter. So I was like caught, but I didn't go down all the way because her other planter caught my fall. It was great. I only like did a half fall that whole time. 17 days I did not fall down. Woohoo! Nor did I get sick. I waited until right now to get sick. Um, so I go to the Netherlands and on the way, and this is tragic, so I'm not going to be whiny about it at all, but apparently on one of the Paris trains, a woman or a person was killed, and that I don't know the details of it, but that held the trains up quite a bit. So I think I was on the train an extra 3 hours being diverted and waiting and just doing nothing. And remember how much fun I said I had driving through Germany or riding and seeing all the castles and scenery? This is my fantasy to be on a train and see scenery. Well, I was on a window seat, but I was at the seat that had the big plastic thing. So I couldn't see anything. And I was so pissed anyway because this is the day that I'm going to my hotel on the border of Netherlands and Belgium. So I have nothing else to do. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make a post and I'm gonna purge this and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make this public declaration that fuck that, I'm done. So I'm stewing all day. I'm stewing all day. I finally get to my town, and I'm so charmed by it. It's so fucking cute. I'm cold, but it's so cute. Cobbled stones. My suitcases. Go 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 go. And I already know what my place looks like because I've stared at it so many times on the internet. But it was built before 1397, but that's the name of the restaurant, 1397, because there is proof that it was built, that it existed back then. And the hotel was called Hotel de Drac, and it had a dragon theme. There were dragons everywhere. And my room was facing the town square, and this town, I won't call it a ghost town during the day, but it was so cold that people just didn't really want to be out. But at nighttime, the freaks came out, and it was so fucking loud. There must have been like soccer games going on, or sorry, football games going on. And there was like the temporary ice skating rink on, they built the temporary building in the town square, and the other half of it was what I called the Christmas disco, because it was all done in red and green and white with disco balls, lots of music, lots of food, lots of drinking, lots of games on TV. So I heard them cheering and singing their team songs, whatever it was, all night long. And I didn't mind because it was so festive. And I knew from the reviews that I'd be faced with this. I was grateful that they gave me the outside room to see all the action. Unfortunately, in the Netherlands, it was so fucking cold. I didn't have a destination to go to. Like when me and Jane would walk, we'd be walking fast. I don't know why. We just did. We were just walking along the river. Um, and then in Prague, I don't know. It was just, maybe it was just colder. Maybe there just wasn't that much to see, or it was just lonely. I don't know, but I didn't really do too much. I just sit in my room and go, it would have been so nice to have, to have my magic union moment here. But I made the best of it, and I did go out to eat, and I did go hang out at the Christmas disco, and I did, make sure I enjoyed it. I had brunch in my hotel one time, and it was so fancy. I thought I was paying €9 for it. Turns out it was €19. That's quite a difference. I would have gone into the champagne if I had known. Okay, so after 2 days of, and this whole time, like on the train and writing my post, and the next day I'm like praying to the gods of Twin Flames that he would write me again. Please let Michael send me one more message so that I can ignore it. And I don't think it would mean that much to him, but I was like, I promise I will. I've made it to this place. I get it. I didn't get it all the way quite yet, but I got it enough to know that I was meant to not see him, and to grab my power and it be my choice to choose to not see him. So lo and behold, he does message me again, and I get to ignore it. Yay! And so okay. So I was glad that happened. I ignored it, but I don't know if this is still true because Facebook changes all the time. But after a while, my curiosity got the best of me. I knew I'd do this eventually. But if you send the message to archives, you can look at it without the person knowing that you looked. At least that's what I think happens. That may have changed. But even still, even if it shows that I looked, I definitely didn't respond. So I like to think that he thinks that I never even looked at it. But the message said something like, it's such bullshit. It was such fucking bullshit. He said, well, I can come tomorrow afternoon. I don't know what time your flight leaves. Oh, and I'm sick. I mean, how obvious does he need to make it that he does not have any intention to come see me? Why even leave me that message except for me, praying to the gods that I could reject that? I mean, if he really believes I wasn't going home that day, but if he really believed I was, does he think I have enough time to see him in the afternoon and make an international flight to America? I mean, is he I don't know. What the fuck was that? What was he thinking? I'll tell you what he was thinking. He was thinking, well, she can't accuse me of not messaging her. I said I'd meet her. Never mind the fact that there won't be any time because I did my part. Mm. Actually, he did do his part, and I'll get to that soon. So, my very last day in the Netherlands, I take another train that's near the airport. The train drops me off at the airport. I take the airport shuttle to the hotel, and it's my last day there. I just take a bunch of selfies. I go get a cheeseburger in the restaurant, and I just call it a night. I liked that hotel. It was nice, but there was nothing to do. And then the next day, I hop on my plane. I get my shuttle, go to the plane, and I did get first class. And I didn't sleep. I watched 4 movies. I drank champagne. I ate all the desserts. I ate all the food. Um, because I'd already decided, as I said, that my trip, I didn't want to diet. And when I got home, I went right back into my keto diet for, I don't know, like 10 days. And when I got on the scale finally after a week, I did gain 2 pounds, but I really should have theoretically gained so much more because I ate whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. But I walked and walked and walked and walked and walked and walked and walked so much that my doctor thought, because I had an appointment when I came home, she goes, you must have, or, that 2 pounds must have been muscle because you look thinner in the face. And I said, you know what, doc, not only that, all that walking has taught me that movement is key to my body pain because I really do have a lot of fibromyalgia body pain. I have to push myself up to stand up. It's not that I'm weak, it's that it hurts. I can't lift myself. It hurts. Well, it's kind of weakness too. And I was actually worried about going to Europe. I was like, how the fuck am I going to walk around a country with a heavy suitcase up and down stairs when I can't even get up off the floor? Well, I guess all of that movement, changes everything. So now I have got no more excuses to not get my ass out there. So, you know what I've been doing since I got home? As much as I hate the cold, I've been taking Soba for walks at night, being blinded by all the big square Christmas lights. But the cold on my face is reminiscent of me walking around all of these neat places in Europe. So I have like had a little shift in that feeling. I don't like it, but it's so, I'm associating it with such a great time. I don't know if that will last or not, but it is getting me out and walking, and I know I need it. Um, So when I came home, I took that flight home, blah, blah, blah. I got home and my kids, same old, because their routine's the same, just mom's not home. But Soba, she didn't know who I was at first, and she was being all fierce and barky at me. But as soon as she figured out that it's mommy, she went fucking nuts and just mauled me, but in the best way, just love and kisses and just wouldn't get off me. And my husband was spying on us from the balcony above because he knows how much we love each other, and he just watched the dog go nuts with me. And it was a really nice, homecoming. My twins would listen to my story and stuff, and then the other boy did, and Josh, and they all kind of listened here and there. And I showed pictures and told stories and gave them their candy and their treats and whatever else I brought for them. And it was a really nice homecoming. I was really lonely in the Netherlands, and because of that really touching moment that I had with my husband before I left, I really wanted to have that back again. And again, it wasn't like romantic. It was just very touching and tender and genuine. And so I wanted to come home to that, and I did. And we fight all the time. There's been a few couple arguey things, but nothing out of the ordinary. We've had the best Christmas we've ever had. I think ever. No fighting, peace on earth. All the kids got things they wanted. Everything just went great. And on Christmas Eve, um, it's my twin's birthday a couple days ago before Christmas, so we've been really busy with that too. So Christmas Eve, under the guise of needing to go buy the cat a Christmas present, they wanted it. I took a little drive, and on this little drive, in my little spins that I had such an epiphany. It just slammed into me because I was thinking about the whole thing with Michael again. And I realized what that whole thing was with him. I thought that I was done and ready to move on to the next thing. But that thing with him was a repeat again of the same pattern that I've been doing with him since day one. It was a little tweaked, but I didn't need the hardcore lesson of it. I didn't need to be like, you know, we have not had that union. So, I'm still a virgin. But our meetings, our hook, well, our first connection did have a feel of romance to it. There was affection, there was hand holding and, petting, and it was sweet. It was a little bit romantic. Well, none of the other ones were. Um, but they still had like the same pattern of me going to see him and then him blowing me off, me finding out about, the other girl through a mutual friend, the whole thing, then me getting pissed off and just being like victim and unable to let it go and just still clinging to him even afterwards, willing to be in his life no matter what. And I guess I was still doing that. I really thought I had matured by saying, I just want my friend back. We can just be friends. But no, I have to let it go entirely. I can't have not one single expectation. I can't even expect him to be kind to me or like what a normal human interaction would be. So the whole thing happened again, except this time I was gifted with the opportunity to put my foot down. I was gifted the opportunity to say, no, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm not opening your message. So the significance of this little interaction of him not messaging me back and then me not and then him finally doing it, we went back and forth a few times. It's like I had to like really be sure because I'm the girl that gives second chances, but I don't give a third chance. And that was it for me. And so on Christmas Eve is when it fell into me. That's what happened. So I felt like this was my Christmas gift from Fairy Girl, from the universe, from M6, even from Margello. And I saw the whole thing from the two perspectives. I often do myself a disservice because I see it from the bigger perspective. And even though it's like Margello did this on purpose, he didn't go over to Michael and say, "Hey, Michael, I want you because this girl needs a little bit more nudge, a little bit more evolution. I want you to help her, and I want you to love her by rejecting her. I promise you're doing her a favor. You go do that, and she's gonna love you for it. That's not happening. I know that that's what's happening." But Michael still chose to do that. And I have to recognize the human actions. I'm a human. I'm not, well, I am Fairy Girl, but I'm also a human. And so I have to allow myself to be mad at the human stuff instead of being so understanding and big picturey. So again, I clung to that anger for a long time. I wanted to. I did not want to go soft on him because I don't want to go backwards. And I've learned I can't go backwards, but I didn't really understand what was going on yet. I was still a little bit confused. But once I put together that it was that same pattern, I was just filled with such satisfaction, joy, somewhere in between. Another word like that, glee, um, gratitude at having been done at last. Because remember, for so long, I say things like, I don't know. I don't know what's next for me and him. I don't know where I'm at. I feel like something's unfinished. I feel like something's incomplete. Well, I don't necessarily think that he and I are incomplete. I still think that there's going to be some kind of union one way or another. But this part of it's complete. I'm complete. Part one is done. No doubt in my mind. I hit that decline button. I declined to interact with somebody that's treating me like shit. And he really did this time, even though it was their plan. He still chose to because we have free will. Again, I don't know. I mean, and then I didn't even ask for this message, but I got a message saying that he would come back in April. And that could be April of 2038. I don't know. It could be April in 4 months from now. But I got pissed off about that. I'm like, fuck that. He can come back if he wants to, but I had to wait 8 years for him. That's not fair that he waits only 4 months for me. But then I remembered that he was ready to move on a long time ago and found that surrogate. So he's already done his work through somebody else. So even though I haven't been able to torture him personally, he may have already had that lesson that I was meant to teach him. I keep looking at my hair because look, it's different colors. It's lighter. Part of that is baby powder because my hair is dirty, but also part of it is me changing the color because my old color got too pricey. So I switched and it's lighter, but the powder made it look really gray. Anyway, that's what's going on with my hair. But look at it. It might like be like different colors, but the powder in my hair just makes it so fabulous. Okay, so do I have anything else to say? And I'm not clinging to that April thing, not by any stretch of the imagination. It just kind of made me realize that he's already done work. I keep looking down today too. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best. I really want to publish this before the next year because I am sentimental about some things, and even though I think that it's a crock of shit that you have to like become a new person at the new year, I kind of feel like for me, I become a new person in springtime. I blossom and bloom. So I'm still in my cocoon and still, metamorphosing in my winter cocoon. But I would like to come back with something new. I've been saying that for a while. So let's see. Let's see if I pull it off. Let's see if I rebrand. And in the meantime, I had no idea this was going to be so long, but I wanted to give my whole story um, props. All the things I learned, I got my twin, my assignment, my part of the twin flame assignment, at least part one. I got it done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. And I cannot tell you how relieved I am. How many 8.5, well, not quite a half, but over 8 motherfucking years. I've been trying to learn this lesson, and I finally did it. So I do have gratitude for, Michael in that indirect way. The same way I have gratitude for my mom indirectly. They helped propel me to the healing place I got to now. And I can finally have gratitude for the healing place rather than, feeling like I'm fighting for this prize at the end. I'm fighting for that love. I'm just so disillusioned with Michael that I'm not really interested in that. So it makes sense that I'm just super duper happy with just being done with it. I would say to Fairy Girl all the time, either give them to me or set me free. I feel set free. Again, I don't think we're done, but I feel set free. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I learned that I need movement for my body to feel better. I learned that I was ready to go be with somebody despite me not being in the body that I would prefer to have. I learned a little bit about energy through Jane and how I kind of want to learn to focus that a little bit more. Um, I got perhaps a potential future event to participate in with her, maybe. Um, I learned my discipline about coming back home and getting right back on track with my foods. And I'm glad I did because after I was home for a while, then it was my twin's birthday. A couple days after that, it's Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day. And it's just too hard. So I let it go and I got really, really chubby really quickly. I think I'm just bloated. But I'm even okay with that because at least for now and then right now in my life, maybe I'll change later, but it's about balance. And my family, as many other families in the world, we enhance our celebrations with food. Food is part of the celebration, and I don't want to miss out on that. I don't want to be that person who makes mashed potatoes with chicken broth instead of butter. I'm putting the fucking butter in. I only make it 2 or 3 times a year. We're eating the butter. And that's all, and I don't have any guilt for the, few pounds I put on, whatever, because, more than just those two. Okay, I'm going to be quiet now. I will see you next year. I hope everybody had just a fraction of the amazing December that I have had. Thanks to my dad for helping finance my trip and my husband for financing the trip, taking care of the kids. There was no drama back home. Everything went smoothly. Thanks to my hosts, Sahar and her family, Jane and her family, and Tracy and her family. She's going to draw a picture of Selma for me. I got to send it out to her. Thank you, thank you, thank you to my friends who truly went beyond my saving grace. I'm so grateful for this trip. It truly was a trip of a lifetime. Prague was absolutely beautiful. I want to go every year. I loved it there. It's a fairy tale land. Go, go, go. I loved everything about my trip, and I can't wait for another one. It was just as grateful as I am to be home and my creature comforts, I already miss it. So thank you again, universe. Thank you again to everybody that helped me along my journey. And thank you guys for watching and letting me brag and about my trip and grow and share and evolve through my storytelling with you. All right. I'll see you next year with part 2 of Carrie, I guess. Bye.